All right, folks, welcome to my next tutorial. This is the InfoSec tutorial. And in this one, I'm going to show you how to download and install Hashcat onto a retrofitted mining rig, which will be used as a supercomputer to crack password hashes. If you've been paying attention to the news lately, you'll probably recall that Quora was recently hacked. And in that breach, one of the attributes of information per user that was revealed was the password hash for a given user. And that is basically a jumbled up password, which can reveal a lot more in detail to the, I would say, well-refined or enlightened hackers. So without further ado, let me go ahead and show you what we're going to do in this tutorial. First, I will show you how to download and install Ubuntu 18.04. We're then going to take that file, that ISO file, and then burn it onto a thumb drive with Ubuntu in Mac or Rufus in Windows. You probably remember me showing you how to do that in the Bucephalus Mine tutorials. We did that with EthOS. But in this one, we're going to do it with Ubuntu 18.04. We're then going to bootload Ubuntu onto a mining rig, which in this case is going to be the ASRock H110 BTC Pro. We're going to get into that BIOS. We're going to bootload Ubuntu 18.04, and that'll be used as a supercomputer in this case. And on that rig, just to quickly recall what's on there, we're going to have an Intel i7 quad-core 3.6 GHz processor CPU, two Corsair DDR4 RAM sticks, 16 gigabytes each, 32 gigabytes in total, packing quite a punch there. 8 NVIDIA Asus GeForce GTX 8 gigabyte GPUs. Let's see here, 1 terabyte of SSD RAM by Samsung. Again, the ASRock H110 Pro BTC motherboard. 2 PSUs that are EVGA G3 1000 watts. And then again, for the operating system, we're going to be using 18.04 Ubuntu. We're going to then configure the Ubuntu environment for SSH and then Hashcat. That'll entail downloading the latest NVIDIA drivers and CUDA toolkit. I will then show you how to download and install the latest Hashcat binaries in Ubuntu 18.04. We'll also configure that environment for SSH or secure cell access by remote location. I'm actually going to show you all, again, down to the Bucephalus mine, down my basement over there, and then I'll be SSHing into that mining rig from the confines of my study here. Lastly, we're going to create MD5 and SHA-256 password hashes, and then crack them with Hashcat utilizing a password dictionary downloaded from School Security. I think this will be a pretty good one. I think you'll enjoy this one, folks. So stay tuned. The next 90 minutes will probably be some of the best 90 minutes of your life. Enjoy. All right, folks, after that nice little bumper to this InfoSec tutorial, we're going to go ahead and kick off here with the GitHub gist, which will correspond to the YouTube or Vimeo, whichever you prefer. Let's go ahead and start with step 1, download Ubuntu 18.04 and burn the ISO image onto a USB drive. I've already connected to a USB device or thumb drive to the back of my iMac. You'll go ahead and proceed with that, and then after that you'll go to this link here. It's Ubuntu desktop download. You'll download 18.04 Ubuntu LTS, and that's version Bionic Beaver. You'll download that, and if you don't already have it, you'll also download the Ubuntu tool. Download that for Mac, download it for Windows, or if you prefer, if you're in Windows, you can use Rufus. I'll go ahead and refer to that after we downloaded this ISO file within Mac. But you'll download that. It'll go or default by download into your download folder, and then you will fire up the Ubuntu tool. So I've already downloaded it. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Ubuntu device. One thing we're going to do before we burn the ISO file, we're going to format that USB device for FAT32. So you'll hit Command Spacebar, type in disk utility. Okay. And then you will click on that untitled. That's the name of that device that I have plugged into the back of my Mac. It's a USB 3.0 thumb drive. I'm going to erase it. I'm going to format it for FAT32 or MS-DOS FAT. We're going to go ahead and format that. Okay, done. And then we're going to pull up the Ubuntu tool. Assuming you've already downloaded it and unpackaged it, it's ready to go. You'll click on disk image. Okay, and if you'd already downloaded Ubuntu to your download folder, you'll go to the download folder within your desktop here. You'll then click on the ISO file. You'll open that, and then we'll go ahead and proceed with burning it. That'll take up to about, I'd say, 90 seconds, 2 minutes. Let's go ahead and let that run through. If you are running a Windows device, if you're doing this in Windows, I'll go ahead and point you over to my Windows environment over here while we wait for this in Mac. What you would do here is, I'll pull up my Mac here. You would pull up the Rufus tool. That's another, you would download the Rufus tool within Windows. You would download Ubuntu within your Windows environment over here. You would then select a FAT32 device. You'd format it with, assuming you'd already formatted that thumb drive with FAT32 within Windows. I'm sure you know how to do that. You go to Disk Formatter. You go there, Disk Formatter, and you would format that for FAT32. After it was formatted, see, you do that. You'd right-click it, you'd format it. After you would do that, you would format it, and then you would select the device that's plugged into your Windows device. You'd select FAT32. You'd then select the download file, the boot selection ISO file. I had already downloaded that into my Windows desktop there. You'd select the boot selection, select that, leave these as default, partition scheme, target scheme, volume label, all of that. Everything is also good to go. It'll default by quick format, and then you would hit start. So I would hit yes, and then I would hit OK. And I'll hit OK again. So that's going on my Windows device over here. Let's click back to my my Mac environment. Should be done. Okay, so it's already done. So what I'm going to do now, if you'd been following along with me, I set everyone's shotgun for the Bucephalus mine tutorial as we had installed the bootloading file within the BIOS of the mining rig. We're going to start there. We'll install the Ubuntu on that mining rig, and then we will load Ubuntu on that environment. I'm then going to focus us back, or at least return back to this desktop over here. We're going to SSH back into that desktop Ubuntu, or that instance. That would be downstairs in the Bucephalus mine shaft, as you guys have seen before. And I will log in from up here, and we will essentially log in, and we will proceed with the Hashcat install and the password cracking up from this environment. So think of it as I'm logging into another local host or server host over here. We're going to log into it, and that's how we'll proceed with this tutorial. So hope you enjoy it. Let's go ahead and transition shotgun as I situate you all and have you install the ISO file onto the mining rig. Hope you enjoy. Okay, folks, welcome back to the Bucephalus dev stable. If you join me from the Bucephalus mine series tutorial, now we are retrofitting one of these miner rigs to be a supercomputer for password cracking with Hashcat. So here is that USB that I burned from my iMac, that Ubuntu 18.04 Bionic Beaver edition. We burned that onto this device with Unet Booten or Rufus if you're in Windows. And I'm going to plug that into the USB port here within the ASRock H110 Pro BTC motherboard. I would like to go over a quick rundown of the equipment here really quick. Again, that's the ASRock H110 Pro BTC motherboard. We also have the Intel i7 3.6 gigahertz processor here, CPU. We also have two 16 gigabyte DDR4 RAM sticks by Corsair. Together that's 32 gigabytes of RAM, pretty powerful. Two 1000 watt G3 PSUs by EVGA. And then we have eight 8 gigabyte GPUs here by NVIDIA Asus 1080 GeForce GTX GPUs here. So pretty powerful stuff here. We're really going to use this to show exactly the capabilities of password cracking. And some of you might be joining me from the as junior devs. Maybe you've seen some hash keys within PHPMyAdmin. If you've been within the cPanel and you take a look back in PHPMyAdmin, you maybe notice that there are hash key sets attributed to users. Well, also those hash key value sets are the passwords that are generated by users. So what happens is a user will generate a password, right, like anyone else would, and then once those are stored on a database, they're actually encrypted by some sort of algorithm. That could be by SHA-256, the same encryption grade, protecting the Bitcoin network. There are many hashing algorithms out there, but I don't want to complicate anybody by introducing too many more than that. But essentially what a hash algorithm is, it takes a password, say like a password like dog, right? And then it takes that simple password and then it processes it through, it shoots it through an algorithm that jumbles it up with different characters, numbers, or values in sequence that are recognized by that algorithm that can only be decrypted by a certain algorithm. So if someone were to, I guess, ascertain the hash passwords, that might not really do a regular person any good. But say if a hacker, like what recently happened with the Core network, when somebody hacked that database recently, they were able to ascertain not only some valuable username data, but also the hashed passwords. So if they were able to determine the appropriate algorithm, a hacker could theoretically crack those passwords. So very scary stuff. And hacks happen every day. Like as I've said with the Saddle Up with Bucephalus Mind series, we see hacks in EMR all the time. Many doctors' offices, many databases, national healthcare systems are hacked all the time. And these hash passwords are within these databases, and who knows whatever else other kind of data that can be revealed simply by cracking these hashes that we're going to be doing here. So I would like to show everyone exactly how to bootload Ubuntu like we've done before with EthOS on one of these rigs. We're going to bootload Ubuntu 18.04. I'm going to sit you all shotgun like I've done before because you can't do a screencast within Ubuntu. Once we install Ubuntu 18.04 on the rig, I will do a brief screencast within that desktop environment to show everyone some basic, I guess, download and pre-configurations we're going to do for the Hashcat. If you're going to focus on SSHing or secure shell access into this mining rig, I'm going to do it from my study upstairs. So theoretically, you'd be doing this remotely, assuming that you have this mining rig or a mining rig like it connected to your network. You would then SSH into it, and then you would run all of the installation instructions that I've prepared on that gist. And we'd go from there because you really don't need a guided user interface for this. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and transition y'all. I'm going to bring the camera around. You'll sit shotgun with me, and we'll begin installing Ubuntu 18.04 from the BIOS. Enjoy, folks. Okay, folks, again, you are sitting shotgun with me here on the DSLR because I am unable to use screencasting software within the BIOS. So let's go ahead and turn on our supercomputers. And at this point, remember, your USB thumb drive containing that ISO file should be plugged into your motherboard. And after you do that, continuously hit the F2 key to prompt the BIOS menu. Okay. We are within the BIOS menu now, and I apologize for the focus here, but you're going to go to the boot selection option here, and then you're going to select boot option number 1. You'll select the UEFI SanDisk Partition 1. It probably won't default to that option, but go ahead and select that if it's not. You want the UEFI SanDisk Partition 1. That contains that the ISO file of Ubuntu 18.04, select that, and then just to be safe, I would select your SSD hard drive. I am rocking a 1 terabyte Samsung SSD hard drive here, connected via SATA. Go ahead and select that as your option 2. That's your hard drive option 2. Then go ahead and hit exit. And it might stick here for a second. So bear with me while that saves. Yep. Exit out of that, and then hit exit, and we're going to save changes and exit. Once you do that, the supercomputer will reboot here, and then you're going to want to select Install Ubuntu. You'll see it in the top left corner here. I'm going to scroll down once, and then hit Enter. Okay, I'm going to scroll down once, hit install Ubuntu, enter. And this will probably cycle for, I don't know, a minute or so. Okay, so your options here, you're going to select English, assuming you're in America here. Go ahead and hit enter. Or continue. I'm going to select English US as the keyboard input. And then English US there as well. Continue. Then what apps would you like to install to start with? I'm going to select normal installation as a default option, and then other options, download updates while installing Ubuntu. Go ahead and select that option or leave it default as is. Hit continue. Okay, since I already have a instance installed here while preparing for this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and select erase Ubuntu 18.04 LS and reinstall. There could be an option where you do erase disk and install Ubuntu. Whatever you do, I would just go ahead and wipe that option or wipe the instance you have contained on your SSD hard drive if you haven't already wiped it. Just make sure it's erased. But for my case, I'm going to go ahead and hit erase Ubuntu 18.04 LTS and reinstall because I already had it installed on this hard drive to prepare for this tutorial. So go ahead and hit install now. Go ahead and hit continue. I'm going to select Chicago as my central. Okay, so this is important. Time zone. So this is important. I'm going to type in my name as I usually would. And I say this because you should note the name of your computer, because if you're planning on SSHing or accessing your the supercomputer here, this mining rig, by SSH, you're going to want to remember your computer name. So I'm going to call this computer name Alexander Ubuntu. You can name it whatever you want. I have multiple devices connected on my network here. I'm going to select my username as Alexander J. Singleton. Then I'm going to choose a password. I'm just going to choose a really easy password for this tutorial. I would use a stronger one, but again, I'm going to wipe this instance as soon as I'm finished with it. Okay, and so once this is finished installing, the computer will reboot and we'll be prompted with a welcome screen, and then you will enter that password to access Ubuntu. You'll want to update everything within Ubuntu. I'll do that first, and then after this DSLR sequence here, we'll transition onto a screencast software with Ubuntu. I'll do, I guess, a quick introduction, show people around within Ubuntu, but after that I plan on transitioning back, and we'll SSH remotely within my own home network here to this supercomputer here. So let's go ahead and let this installation finish, and we should be good to go here. Okay, installation is complete. You need to restart the computer in order to use the new installation. I'm going to restart it. And then we'll be prompted with a welcome screen just like any other operating system. I'll enter my password and we'll be within the desktop. And then I'll transition onto a screencasting software into the next slide or transition. Go ahead and select next. And done. Okay, so the next transition here, I'll be in the screencaster. Okay folks, in order to proceed with the InfoSec tutorial, we need to prepare this Ubuntu 18.04 instance. And the first thing we need to do is update that. So if you're unfamiliar with the command line, don't fret. You can do this nice and easy. Within the desktop here, you'd simply go to the bottom left corner, show applications, and then you would type in updates. And you would type in software updates there, or select that icon. You would check for updates that way. And I've already done this, so it should be up to date as it should be. Alternatively, easiest way for me, at least for anyone else following the screencast probably, as to do it from the command line, sudo apt get update, sudo apt get upgrade, sudo apt get distribution upgrade, and then of course you would sudo reboot. But again, I've already done this, so I wouldn't do that. I don't want to interrupt this screencast. So that's what you would do. You would reboot and go from there. Then next thing you want to do is install NetTools. I did incorrectly label that within or mark that down within the gist here, but I will have this edited by the time it's published. But that's sudo apt get install NetTools. And that'll display the IP address for this device. And we will be identifying this device to secure shell access remotely from another device on the network, assuming you don't want to do this on the desktop. And that's the next transition. I will be, again, accessing this device remotely because I find it will be easier to screencast because we will be shutting off the X server. And if I do that, I can't screencast anymore, so it makes things a little bit more problematic. So if you just follow along with me, everything should be fine. The next thing we're going to do is install OpenSSH server. That's sudo apt get install OpenSSH-server. We'll allow port 22, so we can pipe in remotely. Okay, and then we would of course reboot. I've already done this before. Again, that's the one thing we would do. One thing we would do here, also, I'm already in the desktop, but assuming you know how to get to the desktop already, I'm going to make a directory called InfoSec. Okay, and then I'm going to, so it's there, it's created. just to refer to later. But a few things we're going to do here next is download. While we're here, I want to do a few more things. If you don't want to install the Ubuntu CUDA toolkit from the command line, there is an alternative. You can go to the NVIDIA CUDA toolkit website. You would download the appropriate file for the operating system. Linux, x86-64 architecture, distribution would be Ubuntu, 18.04 would be the version. Installer type is run file local. You would then download this file, and then you would cd into that downloads directory or wherever you downloaded that file, and then run this command. Alternatively, I found that this command, running the scripts over here, is much easier in downloading the NVIDIA toolkit. You need those at toolkit in order to run Hashcat. So that's that. If you do encounter any OpenCL errors, I do have these remediations here, option A and option B. We will go over that if need be in the next transition. Lastly here, let me see here, downloading Hashcat. You'll want to download the latest Hashcat version. I will take care of this from the command line, but alternatively, you can download the latest version of Hashcat by going to the website that I provided within that gist, and then you would hit download the latest version of the Hashcat binaries. You would select download. That's going to default to the download folder. You would hit save file, and then you'll be good to go there. Let's see, one more thing I think we need to take care of. We need to download the Skull Security Dictionary for the ROC UTXT file. You would simply click on that link, and then you would download the ROC UTXT file, which is right here, I believe. Yes. We would download that to the default downloads folder. We'll refer to that later. And that should take care of it. So in the next transition, I will be accessing this device here remotely by secure shell access with the terminal. So enjoy the next transition, folks. Let's go ahead and get it started here with this InfoSec tutorial. At this point, I'm assuming that some of you are proceeding this tutorial within Ubuntu 18.04. Alternatively, you can remotely access this computer with on network, as I am from the comfort and confines of my study. I am remotely accessing that supercomputer or mining rig by secure shell access here. So in order to do that, I've already configured that environment as you have seen before in the previous clip. We installed OpenSSH server. We opened port 22. We then rebooted. And we are now ready to pipe in that device here. So let's do a few things here to check and see if we did that correctly. We're going to run Nmap, and you'll download Nmap. I actually go over this in one of the other tutorials that I prepared out there, actually last year, how to mine for Bitcoin with a Raspberry Pi. But you'll be using Nmap in order to do that, to ping the device to make sure that it is accessible with on the network. So we will run sudo nmap-sn 10.0.1.1.105. Okay, and as you can see, we've correctly configured that device as it's recognized by Nmap with on my network. The device name is Alexander Ubuntu. The IP address is 10.0.1.105, and you can actually verify that IP address by running ifconfig-a, as I've outlined here. That'll reveal the IP address for that device. So the next thing we're going to do is run SSH. We're going to SSH into that device. That's SSH-v. Username, in my case, it was Alexander J. Singleton at that IP address, 10.0.1.105. Alternatively, you can use the the device name, which is Alexander Ubuntu in my case. You could replace that IP address with Alexander-Ubuntu. So let's go ahead and try that. We enter in that device password. Basically, you would enter in the Ubuntu password, just to clarify. And we are in. So let's clear that just to make this a little bit easier to read. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is update the default drivers that were installed with Ubuntu. So as you all recall, we are rocking 8 NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1080 GPUs on that device. And we can verify that by running a command here as I've outlined before. You can do this by the guided user interface or just by the desktop, but I would prefer, and I think it's easier to do this within the command line. So, but I provided options for both folks out there who might be more familiar or comfortable with the GUI there. So let's just go ahead and do this with command line. So we're gonna run sudo lshw-c display. Enter in that device password. Okay, so that will, identify all of the GPUs on board. There should be 8 here. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there's an Intel on board as well, but we're going to ignore that one for now. And you can see that it became, it was loaded with the default driver Nouveau. We want the most up-to-date NVIDIA driver. And in order to do that, we run the command here at step 4, sudo ubuntu-drivers and what is that, devices. So it appears that the most up-to-date driver for this case by the Ubuntu repository is NVIDIA driver-390. So we're going to install that. So we would run sudo apt install NVIDIA driver-390. Yes. Okay, so that's going to install the latest NVIDIA drivers onto our device. After that, we're going to run sudo shutdown reboot, and we will verify that this was correctly installed. So let's let this go ahead and do that. It should take, I don't know, about 60 seconds, maybe 90 seconds. And to clarify, I'll probably try to transition within this tutorial. I might have to stop it or transition in the next segment because I want to make sure this is seamless, but I will try to have this just go ahead and let it run and record here. So, but I will clarify that if there are any preceding transitions. So you'll get the point here. Just follow along with me. If I have to chop this up for some reason for encountering some sort of technical snafu, I will explain. But anyway, so far so good. So let's go ahead and continue. Okay, so that should have installed. So now we want to reboot the computer, but I would advise everyone to run sudo shutdown-r now instead of sudo reboot. For some reason, I had some sort of a reboot hang when I did this. So again, try sudo shutdown-r now. Okay, so that'll punt us off that device if you're remotely accessing that, or you will be in a forced restart if you're at the Ubuntu desktop. So let that, basically the computer's restarting. Let it run for about 30 to 60 seconds. And after that, you can log back in. Since the, if you did install those new drivers, you will probably have some trouble, Ubuntu desktop folks. So I would, before you log in, you'll see this little settings wheel, as I've explained here within the instructions. Click on that settings wheel within the Ubuntu prompt and select Ubuntu on Wayland. When I publish this gist on my personal blog, I'll try to include some screenshots about that, but that will probably be an issue if you reboot and you're unable to log in for whatever reason. So just caution there. But if you're remotely accessing this computer by secure shell access, you should be okay at this point. So let's wait a few more seconds here. We're going to run that command again. SSH-v, your username, and then the IP address of that device. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to enter that password. Very good. And we are back in that device. So let's clear that. Now, the next thing we're going to do is verify that we correctly installed those drivers. So run sudo lshw-c display. Enter in that device password. And as you can see, the driver now is no longer Nouveau, but NVIDIA. So we correctly installed that driver. Let's see if we can run in a little more technical specification there. Sudo ls hw-c video. Okay, same deal. That'll be displayed there. Okay, so there we've correctly installed the NVIDIA 390 driver. Next, we're going to install the CUDA toolkit from the command line. And if you recall, I did explain within the Ubuntu desktop, you're welcome to download the NVIDIA toolkit from the website. Ignore what I'm doing here because I'm in a Mac, but if you were in Ubuntu, you would select Linux, x86-64, Ubuntu 18.04, run file local, and then you would download that file, assuming you're doing this from the Ubuntu desktop, not from your remote device here, which I'm doing. But you would download that file, and then if you were to go to, let's see, change directory into, let me first list them. You would go to downloads, and I already downloaded that file just in case if you wanted to do that within the Ubuntu desktop here, but go ahead and ignore that. So if you're going to be doing this from the command line or within the command line from Ubuntu, again, you can do this also within Ubuntu, but I would actually advise you to do it from the command line within Ubuntu. So assuming you are in Ubuntu or you're remote accessing here, we're going to do this from the command line. We're going to install the NVIDIA CUDA toolkit from the command line. So let me clear this, and I'm going to copy and paste. Actually, I'll probably do these in sequence. We're going to run sudo. You're welcome to copy and paste that and run that as is. You might encounter some trouble there, but I would just go ahead and do this piecemeal with me. Sudo apt update. Okay. Sudo apt dist upgrade -y, and then sudo reboot. And again, this will kick us off. Wait about 60 seconds, and we'll go from there. So again, let's wait another 60 seconds. All right, should be ready to go. Let's go ahead and try to access that by SSH. Wait a little bit longer. There we go. Wasn't ready. Okay, now we are in. We're back in the device here. So let's run ls pci-b. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do here is run this command here. So again, that's it's sudo apt install -y ocl-icd. You get the point here. NVIDIA driver. That's the name of the driver number you're going to want to install. So I listed the convention, the syntax here for that command, but go ahead and you would copy and paste this if you're installing that 390 driver, if you're on the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1080. So if you're using different NVIDIA cards, you're going to have different numbers or different driver specifications. So again, I'm going to copy and paste that into the terminal here and run that. Enter in that password. Okay. And we'll probably be prompted for a reboot, but I think we might be able to verify the install by running NVIDIA-SMI next. Okay, now let's run NVIDIA -SMI. Okay, so let's see here. NVIDIA -SMI should be good to go. We've installed the CUDA toolkit. So now we'll reboot, run sudo reboot. Clear the terminal, let that cycle for about 60 seconds or so. All right, so let's access that device again. Okay, we're back in that device, and let's run these commands here just to update some more ancillary drivers here. Enter to continue. I hit enter there to continue. Sudo apt get update sudo apt get install Mesa utilities. And then sudo apt get install freeglute 3. Freeglute 3. And I'm just being preemptive about this. I encountered some errors that were related to OpenCL driver issues, and I would just advise you to do run those commands and then reboot one more time. All right, so we're going to clear that, and then we're going to reboot back into that device within another 60 seconds here. I will explain, again, you don't have to do this if you've already, it's option B. You can do this from the desktop. Again, I would advise it. I feel like everything from the command line is easier. And I mentioned, again, those OpenCL runtime issues. Go to option A first and proceed with those instructions. You can do that from the desktop as well. I provided both instructions, but that's only if you hit OpenCL errors. And another friend of mine told me that he said that that might be related. And actually, the error message reported this within Hashcat when I was running it, that for whatever reason, Hashcat hasn't covered certain OpenCL drivers on their last release, which I think was 5.01. But anyway, if you encounter those issues, OpenCL runtime issues, try these. Try this remediation first, option A. If that doesn't work, try option B. So the next thing we're going to do is then download Hashcat. In that segment where I was showing everyone around within Ubuntu, I had already done so. We already downloaded the binaries from the website. You can download them. You just download the Hashcat binaries, and you can actually unpackage those or unarchive those from the GUI as well. But if you're unfamiliar with the command line, but I'm going to take care of this from the command line here. That's going to be the next step of this tutorial. So let's go ahead and begin that by logging into that device, assuming it's ready. Very good. Okay. So remember, when we downloaded those Hashcat binaries, we're going to go to the downloads folder by changing directories. So go to change CD, downloads, list the directory there, and we're going to unpack that Hashcat file there. And we do that by running, we have to install sudo apt, if you haven't installed it already, sudo apt install p7zip. Okay, and then we are going to unpackage that there. So run sudo p7zip -d hashcat what is it, hashcat -5 dash 1, I'm sorry, dot 1, dot 1, dot 0, 7z. You can see I'm matching that. This might change if you download a newer version than Hashcat, but as of this tutorial, it's Hashcat-5.1.0.7. So let's run that. Try that again. For some reason I didn't copy that right. Yeah, I didn't. See, I didn't include that dot there. There we go. So that unpackages the file. So in order to, let's verify that. Let's run ls. Okay, very good. So it's in blue there. As you can see, we've successfully unpacked that Hashcat folder. So the next thing we're going to do is run, we're going to access the directory by running cd hashcat 5.1. Okay, lists the directory, has the contents there. So we're going to copy those binaries into the user bin folder. So those binaries can run as an executable program within Ubuntu. So let's just run this and see if anything's in there yet. ls-user /bin / grepit-i hash. Nothing's there yet. Okay, so let's run sudo. We're going to copy the hashcat 64 bin and do user, copying that into user bin. So again, copy that command. I would probably just go ahead and copy and paste it. But you see sudo cp hashcat64 .bin /user /bin. And let's go ahead and make sure we have that / on there. Okay, so we've copied and pasted into there. Then run sudo ln/ls. Again, I'm just going to copy and paste these. It just takes a little bit more time to type those all out. And I'm trying to type around a microphone, which makes this especially more difficult. And then sudo cp user bin. Again, we're just copying the binaries into the user bin folder. That one next. Okay, and then this last one here. Okay, so we should be ready to go. So in order to do that, let's just do one quick thing here. We're going to reboot one more time. So at this point, we've installed Hashcat and we've rebooted the computer. We're going to access Ubuntu here by SSH here within the next 60 seconds. But I would like to clarify, you could download Hashcat from the Ubuntu repository running sudo apt-get install Hashcat, but I find that downloading the most recent Hashcat from the Hashcat website has been less problematic. This one will probably download the most stable but in some cases deprecated releases. So I would, again, download the binaries from the Hashcat website, but you are free to try sudo apt-get install Hashcat from the Ubuntu repository. So let's go ahead and see if we can access that device again. There we go. Okay. And we're in the device. Okay, so let's try to run some benchmarks here. So in order to do that, we would run sudo hashcat -- benchmark. We're now testing Hashcat. Okay, so good. It's recognizing those onboard GPUs. Excellent. Okay, good. So that's 220 gigahashes a second with MD5 algorithm. And let's let this cycle for a little bit. This is pretty fast. I mean, there are 8 GPUs on board that are able to hash or essentially decrypt the password hashes we will be feeding Hashcat here in a moment. So let's let it go. C and SHA 256. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, so that's 26,707 megahertz a second. So pretty fast. Okay, so I'm going to kill that now. I'm run Control C, and that essentially killed the Hashcat there benchmark test. So we're going to start creating hashes, but in order to do that, I wanted to prepare everyone to do one quick thing here, and I did this already. I remember within that Ubuntu walkthrough. I went to Skull Security and I downloaded a password dictionary. Okay. And we did that. We downloaded the RockU text file. So let's unpack that. Let's go back to that downloads folder, okay? List it. Okay, we're going to unpack that. We're going to run b zip2 -d rocku.txt.bz2. Should be unpacked now. Let's verify that we're running list directory. Okay, good. So we unpacked it. There's the RockU.txt file. So we're going to copy that into that folder. Remember we created that InfoSexy folder on the Ubuntu desktop. I'm going to open up another terminal window here. I'm going to Control T. Let me zoom in there. Okay, and I'm going to run. That didn't screw anything up there. Okay, run that same one here. Okay, so again, just to sort of copy and paste here. It makes copy and pasting easier between directories. So let's go ahead and then, as I explained there, let's see here. We are in that directory downloads, okay? So I'm going to copy and paste. You can run pwd to check the path we're in. See, we're in home, Alexander J. Singleton /downloads. So I'm going to run cp, and then that path. Okay, and then we would run that other path again. Let's go back into that folder, cd desktop, and then it's InfoSexy. Should be one there. Maybe I didn't create it yet in this instance. I thought I did. If I didn't, just go ahead and create a directory called InfoSexy. Yeah, I didn't yet, so let's type that in. I may have erased that in between screenshots here, so anyway, just bear that in mind. So let's cd into that directory, and then we're going to run pwd, and then that's where we want to copy that RockU.txt file. So I'm going to copy and paste that just for the sake of demonstration here. I'm copying and pasting that, going back into that other terminal here, and then let's see here. I'm going to make another, I forgot to make another directory with it. I'm going to call it Skull. So pardon me. Let's go into Skull within that. So there. Okay, that's where I'm going to copy that RockU.txt file. Copy it into there. All right, so copy that, and then let's copy paste here. It might be truncated, but you saw what I did there. I copied and pasted that path. So let's go ahead and run that. And try this one more time. I don't think I did it correctly. So run pwd. Okay, so I'm going to copy. I forgot the file name. My bad. So let's try that. See if I can get back onto that line there. / That should work. Okay, so let's close out of that window now. Let's go to the desktop. Can't type when I'm this microphone's right here. Sorry, folks. All right, InfoSexy. All right, Skull's in there, and there should be okay, there it is. So the RockU.txt file is there. Excellent. Okay, so at this point, we are ready to begin creating some hashes here. So let's do that. We are in the InfoSexy tutorial, I'm sorry, the InfoSexy subfolder now, okay? So let's do that. We're gonna, let's run these commands here. It's echo, make sure one more time that's where we're at. Okay, clear. All right, so let's run it. Echo dash in password. We're gonna hash it with the MD5 algorithm, hash algorithm, and then TR. This will truncate the hash, so to make sure we have it as one string here. Whoops, I entered something wrong there. Okay, try that again. I'm just going to copy and paste this again. I'm having a hard time typing around this microphone. Huh, I wonder why that's having a problem there. Oh, I know why. It's probably because it's copying and pasting the wrong characters. Let's try it one more time, folks. I'll try typing it one more time. Echo dash in password. Type MD5 sum / I'm sorry, pipe TR dash D space hyphen. I'm going to move this window over because it seems to be a full window here. It's not. There we go. Resize that. Here dash D. We're going to create it. I'm going to throw that into chevron target hashes .txt. All right, so let's concatenate that file. We're going to run cat target hashes. Okay, so what happened there was we took that password, right? We just created a password. We said we were going to take a password, and we hashed it with the MD5 sum algorithm. Okay, so that's that password now encrypted with under MD5 right there. And it was created within that target hashes text file. So we're going to do the same thing with hello, my secret, test 1 2 3 4 password, guess me, secure password. So we're going to run those. All right. We're going to create those next, those succeeding, was it 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, those other 7 passwords, and we're going to hash them up again. So let's, the easiest way to do that, if you're within the terminal, just go ahead and hit up, the up key, and find that echo command, and then just backspace. It's the easiest way to do it. The next one is going to be hello, all uppercase, and then it's going to be my secret, all uppercase, and then it's going to be test 1 2 3 4. And then password with elite. Okay. And then guess me. And then secure password. All right, so let's concatenate that file. We're going to run cat target hashes. So again, we have taken those passwords, right, and hashed them up with the MD5 algorithm, the hash algorithm there. So those are encrypted encrypted hashes of a password. So you would see those. Let's say again, you're a junior developer and you're following along with this. Maybe you've been behind cPanel within PHP-MyAdmin, and you've seen these like alphanumeric keys like this that are associated with a user. Well, that's probably their password, and you could essentially, if you wanted to, steal those keys and then hash them up, or sorry, decrypt them with something like Hashcat, a password cracker, which we're going to do in a second here. I wouldn't advise that. That's probably illegal. Actually, it is illegal, and I wouldn't do it. But this is a experiment or demonstration in order to show you all of the I guess how easy it is to do this, and why we probably need to live in a blockchain world instead of a centralized world. We need to live in a decentralized blockchain world instead of a centralized world, because it's less secure. In a centralized world, we need to be on a decentralized ledger, because nobody's brought down the Bitcoin network within 10 years almost this January. It really already has been the 10th anniversary if you count the white paper as the birth of Bitcoin, but some folks actually think that the network was created on January 3rd, 2009. So anyway, I'm going to stop babbling about that, and then let's go ahead and start cracking here. So we've concatenated that. That's within the target hashes txt file. So now we're going to run this command down here. Okay, remember we created that rocku. We unzipped the rocku folder. We put that dictionary, that password dictionary, within the skull folder we created. Let me just show everyone really quick here. I don't know if we can concatenate that, but let's try. So let's try cat rocku txt. So you can see those are all of the words that are contained within that file. It's just going to list them all out. It's a lot of words and strings and everything that's within that. It's about it's a 50 megabyte text file. So that's big. I'm going to kill that. So you get the point here. You see all the passwords all the permutations, all of the combinations of certain passwords that are included within that text file. And it's going to run through all the potential candidates for those hash key sets that we've hashed up. So remember we took the password, right? Well, that password, right, the string password is probably contained within this file. In fact, it is. And it's going to run all of the possible the hash key candidates that will match up to that hash. So you'll get the point here in a second. So let's go back into that folder cd dot. I'm going to clear that. And then we're going to run this command here. If I did this correctly, I may have formatted this wrong, but if I did, just bear with me. So copy, paste that. All right, let's run it. So Hashcat's firing up. Firing up the devices. And I've done this experiment before. I think it took less than 1 second to crack this. Okay, so look, less than 1 second. That's pretty remarkable. Less than a quarter of a second, I think. Almost a quarter of a second. So let's verify that crack. So let's ls. So after you run that command, right, it'll create a text file called crack.txt. That's the syntax it shows. It's running. It's going to put all of the cracked passwords or revealed passwords with those keys we fed it, and it'll reveal within that cracked txt file. So remember we created that. Remember that cat target hashes. So that's the cat target hashes .txt reveals all of the hashed up passwords. Remember that's password. That one's hello. This bottom one is secure password and elite. But so those are all the password hashes, right? They're jumbled up with this hash algorithm, and then it cracked this device that I've created here, that supercomputer, right, with the onboard GPUs, was able to crack all of those hashes within a matter of less than 1 second. So let's do that. Let's reveal what was generated within that cracked txt file. So cat crack.txt. I got to run sudo to do that. Super user. And boom, you can see all of the hashes, that hash value attributed to that string we created there. So that's that. So pretty crazy stuff. I'm going to transition. I'll do one more demonstration with the SHA-256 algorithm, but I will say this. With SHA-256, it took almost 3 hours to crack password. So you'll see the difference here, but we'll transition in the next segment. I'll show you the difference here. But that to crack password with SHA-256, it took this device about 3 hours. So imagine if you're using a very strong password with elite, like with alphanumeric character sets, it'll have a much harder time with the SHA-256 algorithm. And again, it's the same algorithm protecting the Bitcoin network. So I'll transition into one more piece here, and then I will send everyone off here and congratulate the folks that followed along the InfoSexy tutorial. Thank you. All right, folks, let's go ahead and give a quick rundown of that previous transition. We called the echo command and then -n while invoking password as our password string here. We then hashed it up with the MD5 algorithm, and we required that to be translated or deleting any hyphens or spaces within that hash and chevroned into that target hashes.txt file. We did that with the preceding 6 passwords here, and we created that target hash file. We then fed that target hash file to Hashcat. Hashcat was able to decrypt those hashes within a matter of 1 second on this mining rig because it is pretty powerful. It has 8 GeForce 1080 GTX Asus NVIDIA cards on that mining rig. So needless to say, quite powerful indeed. So we're going to try the same thing with SHA-256. And admittedly, I'm somewhat of a noob to cracking passwords. Again, I sort of started out in web development, got into crypto mining and the like, and now I'm sort of just playing around with some of these miners right now while I have some dead time between graduate studies. So let's go ahead and experiment with the SHA-256 hash algorithm. And I've already preloaded this, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to load this up. I'll blow this up too, by the way. Let's go ahead and blow that up for a better view. And let's give this a shot here. Okay. So the first one's going to be password. Again, we're going to be hashing these up. Pay attention here. Instead of using the MD5 hash algorithm, we're going to be using the SHA-256 algorithm. So let's go ahead and do that. Password is the first one. Hello is the second one. Okay. Hello. My secret. Third one. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. And then password. And elite. See if it's in there. And then guess me was the other one. And the last one was secure password and elite. Okay, so let's compare those target hash files. The first one is cat target hashes dot is just regular. Let's see, txt. Okay, and let's compare that to the second hash file. We just created it there. So look, that's significantly longer, almost double in size there. Those hashes are almost double in size. So let's try cracking that with Hashcat now. That we're going to try cracking the target hash, that target hashes -2 text file with Hashcat. And again, I've already preceded this, so let's pull that up. And I'll review that one more time. We're calling super user do, calling the Hashcat program. -M1400 is SHA-256. The attack method will be a dictionary style attack. -O, the output file is crack.2txt. And we're calling or invoking the target hashes -2 text file, and also requiring the rocku.txt dictionary we downloaded from Skull Security. One final thing I did append the pot file disable here. For whatever reason, Hashcat was bypassing a number of hashes within this text file. So for whatever reason, again, it's ignoring a couple of them, but I'll probably follow up this tutorial and maybe down the road about a month with something else, another experiment, and stay tuned for that one. But let's go ahead and run this one. Enter in the system password. Let's see what we got there. Okay, so we got how many? 5 cracked there. With SHA-256 on this rig. So again, that's the same encryption grade protecting the Bitcoin network. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with this mining rig. Initially, when I tried this, I mistakenly tried a different attack style. I believe, what did I try on the first run? I tried a brute force attack, which took much longer. It took 3 hours just to crack password, and that was this one right here. So again, I'm experimenting with this. I do plan to do a follow-up tutorial down the road, but pay attention on the when I sign off on this tutorial. It'll be following this transition, and I'll explain a little bit more what I plan to do in future tutorials. So we'll give a quick rundown of what we did here and sign off. But again, thank you for checking this out on SHA-256. All right, folks, that wasn't exactly 90 minutes, but that was about 75 minutes and probably the best 75 minutes of your lives. So let's go ahead and recap what we did there. We downloaded and installed Ubuntu 18.04. We then burned that ISO file onto a thumb drive with UNetBootin in Mac and Rufus in Windows. We then bootloaded Ubuntu onto the retrofitted mining rig, or supercomputer in this case. We then configured that Ubuntu environment for SSH and Hashcat, which entailed downloading the latest NVIDIA drivers and CUDA toolkit. We then downloaded and installed the latest Hashcat binaries, and we created MD5 and SHA-256 hashes, which were then cracked with Hashcat and the dictionary provided by Skull Security. So, and then next tutorial, I might drive around my neighborhood with a laptop or configure a hacker drone equipped with a Raspberry Pi and collect Wi-Fi PMK ID hashes, which would provide the SSID to log on a network. I'm just kidding. That's actually highly illegal, and I wouldn't be caught dead doing that. But I don't think hacking into the net, or actually hacking into the network is illegal, but collecting information might not be illegal. So in any case, I wouldn't advise either one. So instead, I'll probably create an Amazon Lightsail instance and with WordPress, and then we'll log into that WordPress instance, and I'll show everyone what's behind the cPanel, specifically in PHPMyAdmin, the password hashes that are attributed to users when they create a password, just to kind of show you the relevance of what we did here. So anyway, again, folks, hope you enjoyed it. Again, I do these tutorials to sort of demonstrate my technical prowess and reveal that I'm probably one of the most enlightened developers in Kansas City, probably the world over. So anyway, have a good one. Thank you, folks. Enjoy.